Coming up on the October 10th edition of Sports Extra, Hurricane Matthew wreaked havoc on Kenan Stadium Saturday. See how the horrific conditions helped send Carolina's coastal hopes to the sideline.
Another top 15 team entered Henry Stadium, and another top 15 team fell to the hottest squad in Chapel Hill.
And you may have heard of deceptive speed, but what about deceptive strength? One UNC student shows how big things can come in small packages. All that and more, Sports Extra,
coming at you.
From the University of North Carolina School of Media and Journalism, covering the full range of Tar Heel athletics. This is Sports Extra.
Rain, rain, go away. That's what all of us were saying this weekend here in Chapel Hill. Welcome to Sports Extra. I'm Caleb Waters.
And I am a still not completely dried off Rivers Upchurch. It was a wet weekend indeed, but we'll get to that mess in Kenan later. And open things up with a little bit of good news by congratulating women's soccer coach Anson Dorrance on a career milestone and the Carolina women's tennis team on winning a national title. Doubles duo Haley Carter and Jessie Aney are the most recent names added to the long list of Tar Heel national champions. The pair won the 2016 Riviera ITA All-American Championship Sunday, defeating the team from Pepperdine in the third set tiebreaker. This is Carter's second consecutive ITA title after winning last year's championship with doubles partner Whitney Kay. And get this was only the second tournament that Aney and Carter have played together.
Matthew wasn't the only Hurricane that came to Chapel Hill this weekend, as the women's soccer team took on Miami at Fetzer on Thursday, with head coach Anson Dorrance on the cusp of a major career milestone. It was the calm before the storm, and U.S. soccer star Heather O'Reilly was there to see it. After an early Miami goal by Gracie Lakawecki, UNC freshman Bridget Andrzejewski puts home the equalizer just before halftime, and get that, she got the fans rocking. And then Andrzejewski finds the back of the net again, off the header to put the Heels on top. Just minutes later, Dorian Bailey subs in and makes it 3-1 to put Miami away for Dorrance's 799th career win. Now, the women's soccer team wasn't finished for the weekend, battling the Demon Deacons on Sunday evening. After Wake Forest took an early lead on this rebound goal by Peyton Pereira, Carolina responded moments later with Rue Mucherera's first goal as a Tar Heel. UNC turned things around in the second half, dominating the possession and outshooting Wake 7-1. That set-piece goal from Dorian Bailey put the Heels ahead for good and proved to be the game winner in the 2-1 victory, earning a very happy Coach Anson Dorrance his 800th career win.
This sort of milestone is, a combination of the extraordinary collection of athletes that I've been privileged to coach, but also longevity, obviously. And the privilege of working at a school like this is fantastic.
Now, Dorrance's overall record is in 38 seasons, 800 wins, 65 losses, and only 35 draws, a staggering 88% winning percentage.
Unfortunately, after that good news comes this bad news. The tragic event at Kenan Stadium this weekend as the boys in blue took on the Virginia Tech Hokies on Saturday. The rain started hours before the game, but some diehard fans like me still came out to support the team. Right here, Mitch Trubisky's going to drop back and throw one to the normally sure-handed Ryan Switzer. Drop passes like that one played a major factor in grounding the Tar Heels' aerial attack. And Virginia Tech was able to capitalize on Carolina's mistakes, while the Heels did not get the ball into the end zone for the first time in the Larry Fedora era. A lackluster effort all day from Carolina. The Hokies scored 21 second-half points thanks to turnovers like that fumble by Mitch Trubisky. Final score, Hokies 34, Tar Heels 3. Ouch.
Now, for more about Saturday's disappointing performance, let's bring in football analyst Paul the Bandman Beam. Paul, how much did the weather actually affect the outcome?
Caleb, the weather played a huge role on Saturday. Steady rainfall all afternoon grounded UNC's high-flying offensive attack as Mitch Trubisky threw for a season-low 58 yards. In rainy conditions, the game comes down to one thing: turnovers. The ball gets waterlogged and becomes difficult to handle, meaning the team that makes the least mistakes is going to win. The Heels had a season-high 8 turnovers on the day, 2 coming off interceptions, 2 coming off fumbles, and 4 turnovers on downs. In a game in which offense and scoring are hard to come by, you can't put yourself behind the 8 ball, and the easiest way to avoid that is to hold on to the football. It's bad enough to turn the ball over, but what's worse is that Carolina turned it over in its half of the field. Virginia Tech's average starting field position after a Tar Heel turnover was at the North Carolina 39-yard line. Virginia Tech's offense wasn't exactly humming as the Hokies finished the day with just 264 yards. With such a short field to work with, though, Tech was able to score 27 of its 34 points off of UNC turnovers. Although it wasn't anywhere near 8 takeaways, the Carolina defense forced some mistakes from the Hokies, but the weather and Tech defensive coordinator Bud Foster and the Tar Heel offense rattled the entire game. Usually dynamic receiver Ryan Switzer had only 1 catch in the game after catching a combined 30 passes in the previous 2 weeks. Mitch Trubisky couldn't control his passes, completing just 39% of his throws after coming into the game with a 76% completion rate. The defense held on as long as it could, but Tech controlled the ball for nearly 40 minutes, and eventually the floodgates, no pun intended, opened up for the Hokie offense. To me, this game was over before kickoff because the Heels' top running back Elijah Hood didn't play because of injury. And to be successful in heavy rain, you have to have a ground and pound approach. Virginia Tech was just better equipped to handle the elements. Caleb?
That was Paul Beam in studio. Thanks, Paul. Now we bring in the second act of our dynamic football duo, Lindsey Sparrow, to tell us what's up next.
The Heels faced a real-life actual hurricane this weekend. Lindsay, what can we expect next week from the Miami Hurricanes?
Well, Rivers, North Carolina took quite a hit in the Coastal Division standing in their Virginia Tech loss, but the Hokies took the lead in the division. But hey, there is some good news. Duke is dead last with 2 conference losses. There's still a chance for the Heels to come out on top, take the sloppy offensive performance from Saturday, clean it up, and get back on track. That brings us to Miami. On Saturday, the Hurricanes fell to rival Florida State 20-19, suffering their first loss of the season and a tough loss at that. So let's take a look at the threats Miami poses to the Heels. This deadly duo right here, quarterback Brad Kaya and receiver Stacy Coley, and their deep connections, just like this one, are going to require defensive discipline from UNC corners. Wow, that looks a bit like a classic Bug Howard grab, if you ask me. And beyond this receiving depth, the Hurricanes also have quite the run game as well. Mark Walton and Joe Yearby are another dynamic duo, and with UNC's weak run defensive reputation, these 2 strong running backs are going to be key in the Miami game plan. Brad Kaya is a really strong, smart player who has an even stronger presence in the pocket. With that being said, he took a pretty rough beating from the Noles, and word on the street is he walked away with a shoulder injury that's going to keep him from throwing for a few days. So the stakes are high in this showdown. We're going to learn a lot about how each team can recover from a tough emotional loss here.
Yeah, and how both teams battle back after adversity and can execute their game plan.
That's Lindsey Sparrow, Lindsey with an E, in studio. Thanks, Lindsey.
Now, speaking of injured athletes, many UNC teams deal with injuries every day, and cheerleading is no exception. Lex Juarez talked to a member of the UNC all-girl cheer team who's back in action after a year-long absence.
UNC all-girls, yeah! It's definitely a high-risk sport, but I don't think that people view it as that.
Alicia Neal has been cheerleading for 9 years. Last October, she fell out of a stunt and hurt her knee pop. Her season was over.
They you're gonna be fine. They took me to sports med and they did some tests and told me to get an MRI, so.
Neal tore her ACL and had surgery in December. Her first practice was just 2 months ago.
I'm still doing physical therapy, but I'm 100% cleared, and they said you can do whatever you want, pain willing.
She wears the knee strap to keep tension off her tendon and says the hardest part about coming back is working to recapture skills she had before the injury. Head coach Mary Tedder said it's always hard for athletes coming back.
It's hard to get them in the right mindset of going back to the basics and doing something elementary over and over and over again until they can progress.
The team is no stranger to injuries. Last season, team members suffered torn ACLs, torn Achilles, and concussions.
My big goal this year is to not have injuries, because last year they had whole lot of injuries back to back, and it was right at the most important part of their season.
The NCAA College Nationals in Daytona Beach is the biggest competition the team goes to. Other goals for the year include finishing in the top 5 in Daytona. As for Neal, Coach Tedder thinks she'll be back at her previous best or better in Daytona.
She has made major improvements already. She's throwing the skills that she was before. Now we just have to work on perfecting them.
In Chapel Hill, I'm Lex Juarez reporting.
The team travels to Daytona in April, where the Heels will tangle with almost 30 other teams in their division.
You might have noticed that after a big Tar Heel victory, more fans wear UNC branded apparel. But why is that? And just how much revenue does Carolina gear generate? Our Donnie Holloway reports.
Buying and wearing Carolina apparel is one of the biggest ways fans show their Tar Heel pride.
Having that jersey or like having that Carolina blue on, kind of gets you hope and thriving through the week.
And after a win, fans are more likely to engage in burging or basking in reflected glory. In other words, there's a greater chance that people will wear their favorite team's apparel following a victory. And fans have many items to buy to show their Carolina pride, everything from baseball caps to t-shirts.
Like with every feat, whether it be the ACC championship, ACC regular championship, Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final 4, I got all of those shirts whenever we got those feats.
On the other hand, fans cut off reflected failure after their team loses, a term known as corfing. In other words, they tend to show less support.
Oh, it definitely impacts us. They just won't shop. They're disgusted with the coach or the fan or the players or just in a bad mood, period.
In one school year, Marquis spent more than $700 on Tar Heel gear and attire. And that money adds up. In the 2015-2016 fiscal year alone, sales of Tar Heel branded items generated more than $3.3 million. That's because Carolina fans do a lot more burging than corfing. In Chapel Hill, I'm Donnie Holloway reporting.
100% of the money generated from UNC's trademark licensing program goes to scholarships and student aid. And when we come back, field hockey staged a cavalier comeback at Henry Stadium.
We have all the highlights and analysis you need next. The second-ranked field hockey team is still red hot, putting its 5-game winning streak on the line against number 10 Virginia on Friday night. The Cavaliers scored first and kept the lead until the final seconds of the first half when Lauren Moyer tied the game at 1 off a penalty corner. And then in the second half, Moyer is going to strike again, cleaning up a rebound in front of the cage for her team-leading 11th goal of the season. Virginia scored late to force overtime, but senior Emma Bozick said not so fast. She slides around the goalkeeper to score the game winner, giving the Tar Heels a thrilling 3-2 victory.
No, but I'm just thrilled for our team, and particularly for Emma, that I think played well during the course of the game, but then got the big banger at the end.
I knew I had the goal wide open. I was just telling myself, do not miss, do not miss.
To give us a little more insight into just how good this field hockey team is, we go live to John Assetti at Francis E. Henry Stadium. John?
Thanks, Rivers. Now, it was a big weekend for field hockey, and not just because of the win, but also because they held a reunion for former Tar Heels who won 3 national championships between 1995 and 1997. Now, head coach Karen Sheldon has been key for the team's sustained success.
6 national championships, 22 ACC championships, 619 wins and counting. Karen Shelton is, in a word, legendary. She has built a field hockey powerhouse right here in Chapel Hill. Despite her small stature and easy smile, Shelton's players will tell you that she's all business.
She's definitely intimidating. She's a very small woman. She's awesome.
She's small, but she's Karen Shelton. So, initially intimidated, grown to love her.
It's all about hard work. Nothing comes easy. So being disciplined, being focused.
Attitude is everything. First and foremost, I tell people all the time that ask me, do you have favorite players? And I say, yes, I have favorite players. They work the hardest and they have the best attitude. I'm a fundamental coach, so I'm not the one that does all the fun things. I think winning is fun. I think playing great is fun. So I'm not the fun coach. They can do fun stuff on their own time.
Having coached 6 teams to national titles, Shelton knows a thing or two about building a strong locker room.
She finds the right types of women to be together on a team. She finds the right chemistry. It's just as important as having the right talent.
I love working with the kids, I think they keep me young. I love the challenge that it's a new team every year. So no 2 teams are ever the same, and it's just a labor of love.
And that labor of love continues to pay big dividends.
UNC starts a 5-game road trip this week, but they do play Duke in Durham on October 22nd. and I'm sure they'd love to see some friendly faces in the crowd. Back to you guys.
The Heels play Louisville on October 15th, the first of 5 straight road games. That was John Assetti live at Henry Stadium. Thanks, John.
Now, to be the best, you have to play against the best. And that's what the defending national champion women's lacrosse team did when the Heels played the U.S. national team Sunday afternoon. Carolina senior Carly Reed led the Heels with 4 goals against the national team. Sophomore Olivia Ferrucci returned, coming back from a knee injury that cut her freshman season short, and even scored a goal to help the team. The national team did end up winning the exhibition game 20-7. Now, the Heels quickly recovered from that loss Saturday, coming out strong Sunday to defeat the Australian national team 13-8. Senior Molly Hendrick led the Heels in the scrimmage with 3 goals and an assist, and freshman Elise Hennessy made 3 saves for Carolina.
In a highly anticipated showdown between 2 of the ACC's best, the 9th-ranked Carolina volleyball team wiped the floor with number 16 FSU on Friday. The Heels started strong thanks to redshirt sophomore Taylor Leaf, who led the way with a double-double. But it was a team effort. I mean, look at that. You got to love them getting excited for each other. And the crowd, they couldn't help but join in too. The Heels continued to give the Seminoles the business as they piled on the kills. Freshman Julia Scholes got in on the fun by closing out the match with this spike. The Heels swept FSU under the rug 3-0. And then next up in Carmichael was the Miami Hurricanes on Sunday, and Carolina simply blew them away. The first set was close, but the Heels controlled the net with blocks like that one by Haley McCorkle, and the Tar Heels came out strong again in the second, dismantling the Hurricanes 25-10. And the fans, they kept the momentum rolling right on through the third set. Freshman Julia Scholes racked up 8 of her team-high 12 kills in the third set, and Carolina stuck around to sign some autographs for the fans, as they are now a perfect 6-0 in the ACC.
Coming up next, have you ever wanted to stay involved in sports on campus without actually playing a sport?
We take a look at how some students are staying in the game.
No thanks to Hurricane Matthew, it was a wet one Friday afternoon when the men's soccer team took on UVA. Let's jump straight to the second half. The Tar Heels came out of halftime with a 1-0 lead, but the second half was all UVA. Here's Virginia's Pablo Aguilar scoring off a header in the 53rd minute. And then about 20 minutes later in the 73rd minute, the Cavs take the lead on that Wesley Wade breakaway goal. Carolina outshot the Cavaliers 22-5, but couldn't find a way to win. Number 4 UNC drops to 8-2-1 on the season and will host UNC Asheville tomorrow at 7 p.m.
Now, with the combination of adjusting to college life and a heavy course load, many students who were once serious athletes no longer have enough time for the sports they love. With more, here's Daniela Ocampo.
UNC senior Hudson Michael left high school with offers to play college soccer. Hudson gave up those offers to attend his dream school, UNC. Now, Michael is a licensed soccer referee, working with the National Intercollegiate Soccer Officials Association and the NCAA.
It's a big change, and it can be frustrating at times because there are times when I want to throw the jersey back on and get back out there and show what I can do.
As one of the youngest referees for college sports, Michael says the job can be challenging to his character and sleep schedule.
I have a lot of things vying for my time. I think once you find something that you're super passionate about and have a love for, it's worth sacrificing sleep and getting out there and making it happen.
For students like junior Jessica Hugh, who has been figure skating since age 7, it's about paying it forward to the newest generation of skaters. She now coaches figure skating to children at the Sportsplex in Hillsboro.
It's really great to watch them improve and get so excited when they learn these new tricks and spins and jumps, because for me, all these things are really easy because I've been doing them for years and years. And for them, it's the little accomplishments that make them really excited.
Hugh is a coaching education minor and says what she learns in the classroom helps her coach on the rink.
We just kind of talk about different practice plans and how to engage your students.
Students like my spotlight athletes, but they do try to make a difference in the sports they love. In Chapel Hill, I'm Daniela Ocampo reporting.
To further pursue their love for their sports, Michael founded the Global Soccer Society, while Hugh started a club figure skating team.
On Friday afternoon, the Bulldogs of Georgia devoured the Tar Heel swimmers at the season kickoff in Corey Natatorium. The women's team lost big to the Bulldogs, falling by more than 80 points, and though the men's team kept it close, they too came up short. But it wasn't all bad news for the Tar Heels, as UNC earned wins in all 4 of the diving events, including Diving, the men took first place in 5 events, while the women came out on top in 4.
What are you gonna do? Nailed it. Officials cut the Tar Heel Golf Invitational short because of flooding on the course. After 2 rounds, the Heels trailed the UNCW Seahawks by 3 strokes. Carolina's Zach Martin tied for 5th in his first collegiate start, while his brother Joshua tied for 8th. The team will compete again on my birthday, October 16th. That's not significant, at the Tavistock Collegiate Invitational in Florida. Now, when we return, do you even lift, bro?
I mean, I do. But even if you don't, you'll be impressed by one of UNC students' biggest strength, her strength. Look around any college campus and you're sure to find examples of strength on the football field, the basketball court, maybe even in the classroom.
Or right up here on the Sports Extra desk. As reporter Jordan Jackson shows us, one UNC student is raising the bar above most others.
April Purvis, your average student. Well, maybe shorter than your average student, but on any given school day you'll find she blends in quite well. Until about 7 o'clock, when Purvis drops the books and the barbells. Purvis stands 5'1". She powerlifts. She's also nationally recognized. Just 2 years ago, Purvis began lifting with a close friend at the gym.
He said, why don't you just try meet just to see how it is? So I did, and I actually ended up winning, so I just kept going with it.
Going with it straight to the top. At a meet in January, Purvis set 3 USA Powerlifting Federation records: squatting, bench pressing, and deadlifting, more than any woman in her age and weight class. So, just how much can she lift?
My squat's at like 305, bench, touch and go 170, and then I can deadlift 355.
Unbelievable numbers to other women in the sport, including Grace Hortenzio.
A lot of people just aren't really aware of how good she really is.
Purvis says people are more often surprised by her height, not her gender.
One thing that I get a lot is like, wait, you're like a 5'1", how do you lift that much? Or wait, how much do you weigh and you lift that much?
She acknowledges it's still a male-dominated sport, but believes it's transitioning as younger females see examples of success.
They're all just like encouraging and supporting each other, and that's like one of the coolest things I've experienced as a girl, especially in it.
To Purvis, gender isn't a major factor. It's you against yourself and enjoying the feelings of personal achievement. Feelings understood by all. In Chapel Hill, I'm Jordan Jackson, reporting.
You know, Rivers, that routine looked a lot like my workout routine, which I could easily take you through. But the key is the diet, really. It's all about that teen, that protein.
Yeah, creatine, protein, all the teens.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's about how much you bench is in the teens. I think that does it for this edition of Sports Extra. Me and Caleb Waters, little guy over here.
Thanks for watching. Good night.
Good night.